To understand Emily Bronte, we must travel back in time to the heart of Yorkshire, to the Howard personage. It is here that Emily grows up, motherless, alongside her sister Charlotte and Anne, and a brother Branwell. Isolated from the world, but surrounded by their reverend father's work, the four siblings create an alternative universe. To escape the rigidity of daily life, they invent imaginary realms such as the worlds of Angria and Gondal. They write tiny, handwritten books populated by heroes, wars, and overwhelming passions. These early writings are not mere childhood games, but a true literary training ground. It is within the walls of that silent house that their extraordinary, dark, and precocious imagination is formed, the very one that, a few years later, will give birth to an absolute masterpiece of world literature. Emily was the most enigmatic of the Bronte sisters, shy, deeply introverted, and resistant to social convention. She rejected the rules of Victorian society. There was only one place where she truly felt free: the moors. Those wild expanses, swept by wind and rain, were not a simple landscape for her, but a state of the soul. Emily would walk for hours in solitude, forging a mystical and visceral bond with unspoiled nature. This fierce character, combined with the wild breath of Outworth, is fully reflected in her writing. Emily did not seek the world's approval. She preferred the company of her dogs, of silence, and of that desolate land which, throughout her life, was a true, only home and a greatest source of inspiration. We are in the minds of Victorian era, a historical period dominated by Puritanism, industrial progress, and a rigid morality that relegates women to a domestic, angel-like role. It is in this context that Emily, in the secrecy of her room and under the male pseudonym Alice Bell, writes Wuthering Heights. Writing this novel is an act of pure rebellion. Emily pours a primordial force into the pages, one that violently clashes with the decorum of the era. She does not write a classic Victorian love story, but a world dominated by dark impulses, brutality, and passions that challenge common morality. Without the world knowing it yet, between 1845 and 1846, a young woman is about to shatter the rules of the Western novel forever. When Wuthering Heights is published in December 1847, its impact on the public and critics is a true earthquake. Readers of the time are deeply shocked. Critics call the book coarse, brutal, and violent, unable to understand how a human mind could conceive characters so devoid of moral redemption. The ferocity of the review is relentless. The work is almost universally rejected and deemed a literary abomination. The pain of this rejection is immense, worsened by the fact that Emily protects her true identity behind a man's name. Victorian society is simply not ready for such a devastating story, and Emily's masterpiece is initially buried under a blanket of outrage and total misunderstanding. Wuthering Heights is not a simply love story, but an abyssal exploration of the human soul. At the center of the novel lies the destructive obsession between Heathcliff and Catherine, a bond that goes behind life and death, a love that turns into a ruthless generational revenge. Revenge becomes the unmoving mover of the narrative, consuming every character and demolishing social structures. Alongside these devastating passions, nature plays a leading role. The moors and the stark houses of Wuthering Heights and Truscott Grange are not mere backgrounds, but emotional mirrors of the characters. On one side storm, ferocity, and instinct, on the other calm, civilization, and appearing order. It is the eternal clash between the wild element and civilization. The success and rediscovery of Wuthering Heights will not arrive in time for Emily. Shortly after its publication, tragedy strikes the Bronte family once again. In September 1848, brother Branwell dies. At his funeral, Emily contracts a severe form of tuberculosis. With the same unyielding and fierce character that had defined her life, Emily refuses all medical care and medicine, continuing to do housework until her very last moment. She dies on the parsonage sofa on December 19, 1848, at just 40 years old. She passes away in silence, leaving an immense void, a single novel, and a handful of extraordinary poems, never knowing that her name will never carved forever in history. After her death, time has done justice to Emily Bronte. What the Victorian era had commended as a literary monster, the 20th century consecrated as an absolute masterpiece. Avant-garde writers, poets, and critics rediscovered the shocking modernity of Wuthering Heights, transforming Emily into a mythical figure, the romantic, solitary heroine, the sphinx of English literature. The legacy has transcended the boundaries of the printed page, influencing music, art, and cinema. Today, Emily Bronte is no longer the shadowy sister of Charlotte, but an icon of expressive freedom and rebellion. And only novel continues to speak to us with the exact same primordial force as 2 centuries ago, providing that true genius is immortal. In 2026, the myth of Wuthering Heights comes alive once more on the big screen, thanks to the audacious vision of Oscar-winning director Emerald Fennell. Known for her provocative, sharp, and visually somptuous style, Fennell is the perfect choice to translate the novel's darkness into a contemporary key. Her direction does not seek a classic, dusty historical reconstruction, but digs into her toxic psychology, obsession, and violent sensuality that Emily Bronte had imprinted on her pages. Emerald Fennell uses a vibrant staging, a magnetic soundtrack, and a sharp aesthetic to destabilize the viewer, restoring to Wuthering Heights the scandalous and successive energy that has shocked Victorian readers in the mid-19th century. Giving body and voice to this modern reimagining are 2 of the brightest stars in cinema today, Jacob Elordi as the tormented Heathcliff and Margot Robbie as the strong-willed Catherine.